Hello everyone, my name is BenWX, and today we're going to go over how to design the interior of a level like a mansion. So we're going to do more than just sit inside of Unreal today. We're going to go in, we're going to draw one, and actually go in and then build what we have drawn. And if we have time, we're going to go ahead and replace those meshes with the actual meshes that we would use for the end product. But if this is too long, we're going to make a whole series out of it. Alright, so what we're going to do first is we're going to come up with the idea of what all we need inside of this project. So the idea would be to have the ability to crouch, hide, locked / unlockable doors. And then, so from there, I would like the AI to search areas. And if we ever got to a finishing point, the AI to be able to hear player when closing and moving. Which we may or may not get into that. I would like to, but it all matters how much time I have. So from there, we've got crouch, hide, sprint. And then maybe light switch. So there we go. Now we can hide, sprint, turn lights on and off, find keys, and there we go. So that's enough to make a baseline little horror project. With all that, the rest would just be little cutscenes or little things that play out through sequences where it talks and the character plays audios and stuff. So I want this to be a little 2-story mansion. So 2 stories. And if we have time, hidden areas. So there we go. Now we have all these ideas of the mechanics we want to have. So we're going to name this mechanics. I know that's not the right kind, but whatever. And we're going to name it mansion. 2 stories, older style, large room with big staircase, smaller background staircase. So that way we've got multiple options of getting up and down. Because if you lock the player into only having one way up and down, for one, the house would be a little weird, only having one way up and down, period, especially if it's a larger house like a mansion. So you would want the ability to have multiple ways up and down. And this allows you to make it to where the player can think about their pathing to avoid the staircases. This could also lead into the player could actually unlock the smaller staircase later in the game. So that gives them the ability to unlock and have actual progression in the level design itself. Even though it's all one location, more areas open up as time progresses. So with all this in mind, we save. And so we have all this already planned out. So now we would go in and we can draw it. So with everything, keep everything we just did there in mind. I'm going to load up a program known as Inkscape. It's a free little program that I like to use for my thumbnails and a lot of my drawings. If you've seen some of my other videos, then you've actually seen me use this program before. Okay, so now we've got this area to work with. We need to draw a mansion. So let's go ahead and get the baseline design. So boom. Then mansions usually have the little area that comes out in front of it. And there we go. Maybe we'll cut it back a little bit to where it doesn't all just form a square. We got this area for a little setup going on. So there we go. With all this in mind, we now have a outer design, and I can go through and build this in the level. Now we need to go ahead and design a few rooms. So we know we want a staircase that goes up into the second areas, and we want a big room for that. So let's go ahead and design an area right here. That is just a big old room just for that staircase. You know, let's kind of go a little bit larger. We would want this room to be large and very eye-catching for the player. So here we go. And then if we wanted to stick with one staircase, we could easily make it to where there's 2 sets of stairs that go up. So let's go ahead and go with that idea. So like that. And I want the player to be able to go around so they can avoid the whatever's chasing them. So what I've done is now I've created a way up, and then it goes around. And so if the creature's coming up from this side and the player's right here, they can sneak around and watch it going up there as they come around and go down over here. It gives the player a large choice of where they can or can't go. So if I didn't end up making a second staircase, or I didn't want them to access it till later in the game, this gives them multiple options on how they want to go about getting downstairs from upstairs without all being trapped in one little path. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and design the hallways. Because with a mansion like this, you would tend to have multiple hallways. So we're going to go right here. We're going to create our first 2 little rooms right here. And right there. So this is going to be a double set room. And it's going to be our kitchen and bathroom. Our kitchen and dining room. So D for dining room. K for kitchen. So now we know what these are, dining room and kitchen. And then what we can do is to keep better track of our upstairs, we can take this, we take all of this, because we want this room as well. And we can actually set this right next to it. And what we could do is we can actually put a 1 over 1, first floor, second floor. So now we've got an idea of which floor is which, and we got the staircase matching perfectly on both ends. So there we go. Now from here, we've got those 2 rooms. We could probably slide this over a little bit. So let's go ahead and slide this one over and this part right here over. Because we want this to be a small hallway. And then we have a nice room right here. So there's our other hallway, and then we're actually probably going to end up shrinking the map a little bit. So from here, we've got another set of rooms. And what we could actually do is, instead of placing it right there, we can go like this instead. Of course, we're going to need to fix that a little bit. Now we can take that, duplicate it over. And what we've done is now we've got a little hallway right there. We can slide it off over here to match right there. So now they've got a path right here. If they run into something right here, they can go left. And there we go. So now we've got multiple paths to choose from, 2 different rooms. And what we also have right here is we want entrances right here. Right here. Right here. And right here. Actually, for the dining room and kitchen, we might even go a step further, and right there for the kitchen. And then for the dining room, we would have a door right here. So there we've got 3 entrances to the dining room and 3 entrances into the kitchen. And what this will allow it to do is, if we set up the dining room right, we might make it to where it's harder to get to this door from this end. And it kind of gives the player access to come and go as they please in this room. Same with over here. But the kitchen would probably have more areas blocked off. Not like fully, but enough that the player has to pay attention to where they're going. Then we have 2 rooms right here we can decide what to do with. We could even put a servant's quarters or a library in one of these rooms if we really wanted to. And then we could probably put a whole nother room right here. We'd probably put it on the other side. And this will be the pantry. Or the walk-in freezer, because it's a mansion. So we got the walk-in freezer, we got the dining room, kitchen, staircases, probably a library or servant's quarter around here. We would likely make one of these rooms a storage room, so that way all the food can be easily accessed. Or if we're going for an older style, we could even like go right here and set a downstairs area for a basement, because they used to take food downstairs in order to store it in a cooler environment. So there we go. If I actually take this, because this room is likely pretty decently large, we actually have a lot of wiggle room to go with right here. There we go. This actually is still plenty of space for a whole mansion. And now we slide this one down to kind of match, like there. So there we go. Now we've got the hallway created from it. So we got a multi-path hallway right here. Probably slide this room down a little bit, and this room down a little bit. And these rooms don't need as many entrances. So what we could do here is we can actually set an entrance to this room right here, and an entrance to this room right here. And so you wouldn't want the kitchen to have to go in there unless this room right here is going to be the storage. Then we would actually put a door right here and a door right here. And what we're going to do in order to kind of fill out the room a bit more is we're going to grow this up a tiny bit. There we go. So now we've got better aligned hallways. Then right here, we're going to put a little master bathroom, or at least a large bathroom. So B for bathroom. So there we go. There's the spare bathroom on the first floor. And then we will have a smaller cleaning room that can connect to it. So that way they run off of the same water system. So then we got a C for cleaning room. Keep holding control so it's not typing anything. So there we go. So now we got multiple rooms already laid out and planned in mind. We could actually probably shrink this a little bit more as long as we grab everything. And this is just a rough layout to give us an idea of where all the rooms are, a couple of ideas for entrances and stuff. So right here, we could actually likely just cut off right here and then adjust the rest to not be up there. And we could probably delete most of this. So from here, we would just redraw our staircase, because everything else is not accessible from down here. So boom. So now we've got very similar layout to both floors. We know that these are the staircases right there. So that means we know that if we put a doorway right here, it's a doorway leading out of the room, and it's part of this floor, not the upstairs. What is going on here? Oh, right. So let go. So this room would need multiple entrances and exits from, because you would want the player to be able to feel like this room is the main area, and it gives them multiple paths. That does not mean all of them have to be unlocked right off the bat. So you can make it to where they can't even access this part of the building until they get a certain set of items. And that'll allow for this simple style of progression. From here, we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and seal this off because we don't need this broken. Which is simple grab there, slide down. All right. So over here, we're probably going to have a rather massive gathering room. So this is probably where like the big old living room would be. So we're going to have a extra room right here. And it's going to connect to the living room. And then we'll have another bathroom right here, a little bit smaller one. So we're going to take our simple B right here, and we're actually going to lowercase it for the smaller bathroom. So there we go. That would also mean that everyone who's gathered in here, they don't have to go all the way through the mansion to be able to go to the bathroom. But we could also get rid of that. That would be fine. So we've got a lot going on here. We can actually grow this up a little bit if we really wanted to, really cut that into a hallway. You've got a little gathering point right here. And so this is where the servants would have to go to use the bathroom. And if you wanted to treat it more like an olden style house, you would put this bathroom farther over because you wouldn't want the servants to be messing with the guests or anything. They're not there to do that. I'm not trying to say it like that, but that is how it could have been looked at back then. It all really depends on the style of game you're going for. So now we've got a decent little first floor. So let's go ahead and go into the project because I'm pretty sure you're probably tired of seeing this. And I'm actually going to build this. So I need to build a flat and then a front little area. Come up, back, okay. So here we go. I'm going to use the cube grid for this real quick, and we're going to go ahead and design it. I know a lot of people might not be too happy seeing the cube grid again, but it's great for prevising. As well as a lot of people I'm hearing and noticing are seeming to have issues with the ability to have collision inside of this. So when I go to project settings, and I go to new mesh objects, they use complex collision as simple. If I place right here, hit E, hit accept, and I set my settings to be sandbox so I can play it, and I hit play, I have collision right now. I've not run into this issue before, so let me go ahead and test and make sure that this is it. Use project default, and this was unchecked, I guess, for a lot of people. And then cube grid, draw E, accept. I come over here and I hit play. I should fall right through. So if I'm falling through and it's because it's placed, go into your project settings and make sure to enable collision and use complex collision as simple. Make sure to use these. And that alone should make it to where if I recreate it and I hit accept, then I hit play, I now have collision. So there you go. That's how you go ahead and solve that. So now let's go ahead and get back into that. Let's go ahead and build our little mansion. So we need our flat little area right here. Boom. It's actually possibly too much space. So there we go. That should be plenty. We've got our little spot right here for the front door. Probably like there. Then right here, grow. There we go. So now we've got our baseline design that we had before. Now let's go ahead and throw up some walls. I do 4 because the regular character is too tall. So 4 gives it space for the character to be able to jump and have a nice height to it without going too overboard. And of course, the previs isn't going to be 100% perfectly accurate, but it'll let you get the idea for your layout down just fine. Ooh. There we go. So now we've got our baseline wall set. Oh, looks like I went overboard right there. Then, of course, we would do a double door entrance. There we go. So that is our baseline wall set. So if I hit accept now, if I want to edit it, I have to, if I click activate and hit accept, this will all be its own little mesh. So I have to be clicked on it to be able to edit it. I had someone ask about that, so I decided to go ahead and throw this in here. All right, so from here, I'm going to unclick off of it because I want to be able to edit the walls in here separately. So let's look back at our little drawing. So we have one big square or rectangular room, 2 more rooms over here, and then 2 more rooms that are separate from each other. Let's go ahead and build those first. So let's go ahead, without clicking in, cube grid. A good space for this would be about here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. So this might not be large enough for it. So let's go ahead and slide it back one more. Actually, we wanted it to be able to create a hallway right here, so we actually have plenty of space for a fair bit more. So 3 is a decent width for a mansion. You might even have a wider one, so let's go ahead and do that much. To give it a slightly wider... you know what? Because we're making a game, I'm going to go ahead and go one more. So that way the player is kind of constricted a little. You know what? No, I'm not. Because what I'm going to do is I want to add hiding places in our map. So I want to keep that in mind ahead of time. So now we've got 4. I've got places for the character when the creature or other characters walking through and looking for the player. They have an area to walk through, and then we have room over here to place hiding spots for the player to hide under as the character or creature is walking by. So keeping in mind that we need that much space, I can now go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can actually remove some of these because part of this was a cleaning room. And now 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we've got our little cleaning room and our baseline bathroom. This gave us plenty of room for both. So we can actually remove the spot right here. Boom. Spot right here. Boom. Spot right here. Boom. So now we've given all 3 entrances. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Boom. There we go. So now there's 3 different paths inside of that room right there. And we got plenty of room over here going on. So now we're going to go ahead and we might remove... Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to shrink this room a little bit because we want the flow to look real nice as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there we go. We got a 1 spot right here. And if we really wanted to, we could actually expand it one or 2 more forward. Keep it more uniform. Let's go ahead and do that. It'll look nicer for the player's eyes. But if we didn't, I'm going to go ahead and remove that and instead only make it move 1. This will give the player something really unique to see in the design. So instead of it just being a flat wall that goes all the way across, this shows a bit more uniqueness to the design. As well as you could set like full-blown trophy cases there, and that would allow the player to walk by. They can't access this little spot, so it keeps it even along this wall. And it gives them something nice to look at, and you can use that to tell a bit of the story. So I didn't mean to hit accept, so we're going to come over here. We're actually going to use that same 4 stack. So what we've done over here is we've created a system to know exactly how wide we want this. I want it to be exactly 4 wide now. So now I know over here, I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to put the wall right here. So right about here, maybe less. Right there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because eating rooms will be large in areas like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We want the dining room to be bigger. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Now we got a nice little kitchen over here where people can cook ovens and have a full chef crew if they really wanted to. Because a character only fits in one of these cubes, so we could have a few characters in here. So because I don't like the size of this, since I've left myself the ability to do that, and I'm pre-vising early, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I've gone ahead and I've actually given the player a lot more room to work with. As well as if I wanted to, I could actually take another step to this and I can make the dining room actually a small bit shorter than the kitchen. So that way we also add into the uniqueness of the level as well. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Now we've got the dining room and kitchen all set up. The kitchen's a wider set. And they'll have a 2-way door right here. And a 1-set door right here. Well, we wanted 2 doors, so we're going to add 2 doors right here. So this allows them to leave and enter much faster. Over here, we're actually going to replace this dual set. And we're going to do that over here instead. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Instead, we got a double door right here. And then 2 over here. So this would be so if people were bringing in the food, they could use one door to go in and the other door is explicitly for going back out of the room. allowing the servants to properly feed the guests without staking their stay too long. There we go. So that keeps it good. We got plenty of space for the table and everything. We've actually got a bit of room to be able to expand. So if we wanted to keep this and have like a fireplace in here, we could easily expand both of these. So we could actually make the dining room larger and make the kitchen smaller. And what we could do is right here, this could become our little pantry. So now we've got our kitchen and our pantry, and then that could also tie into how we had it set up before. We had the extra room right here, which was the walk-in freezer. So we can click here, and boom. And now we've got the area for the walk-in freezer, which would be pretty nice size with this. And we can even make it to where they can't enter through there. They can only enter through this side. And that would make this area rather claustrophobic for the player, which is, in some cases, a good thing. But now we don't have enough room to play around with the rest. So with this in mind, we need to keep track of how much room we're using. So we want a nice sized mansion, but we don't want it overburdened to specific rooms. So we're going to go ahead and relower this down. I just wanted to go over some ideas of what things you could do. So to stick with our initial design, I'm going to go about cutting to here, because this should still fit all of our stuff. Our table's not too large, and this gives us plenty of room to add in our other rooms right here. So over here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here. There we go. So now we've got our multiple rooms. We've got our little storage area right here. We've got our little library right here, which we might actually change the entrance to be over here. And another one about right here. So now we've got 2 entrances right here. And if we wanted to, we could even throw in a staircase into the library. So that way, when they unlock the library, it's a much more unique experience. So we don't need this much space. We need 1, 2, 3, 4. We can actually expand both rooms back to here. There we go. So now we just gotta delete this midway point. There we go. So now we've got this nice amount of room for this library. Like I said, you could have a staircase that goes upstairs, and that could connect to a office little area. So they can access both the top floor and the bottom floor from right there, as well as it could act as our little secret area. But this gives the player the ability to sneak around all of this area together. And then we could put a entrance back here. So if the owner was coming along here, they could enter through here and exit through here. And it would be easily accessed by going through here and then going into the library. And of course, the dining room would need multiple entrances, so you could do double right there. We could even make it match right here, so when people go through, it would go right in. Because there's enough room in the hallway, there's plenty of room for it to match right across. And if they were really fancy, they could even have 2 double doors right there. But I think that'd be a little much for what we're going for. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to have 1 double door. And I'm going to put it over here. And then 1 single door over here. Maybe 2 single doors over here. Because you would want your guests to be able to enter through multiple areas. And this opens up a lot of paths for the player to take. It also means that if the character who's chasing you is following around, they could actually know all these paths. If you really wanted a unique little thing, you could make it to where the creature could lock doors. So if you're running through, they might have locked a door. If you have a key, you can unlock it. But if you don't, then you have to go back through and find a key. So there's our kitchen entrance. So there we go. Actually, maybe put the kitchen entrance over here. So that way they have to go all the way down to the end and go in. And there we go. So from our little storage area, we would want another exit, maybe right here. Off on the side. Not right there. right there. I tended to try and not put them right against the wall because it looks a bit nicer. So from this, I can actually swap it to right there. So it kind of gives a flow of going across the room instead of just directly through. So here we go. Now we've got an entire area layout going through. Let's go ahead and run through it real quick. Accept. So if I hit play, I can run through this whole area real quick to see how it feels. So got in here. We got this little path right here that leads into the dining room. Now we're in the kitchen. Over here, we're in the hallway. We're in the little storage room. Now we're in another hallway. Now we're in the library. And so on. The little cleaning room. If you come in here, this could be where you find one of your keys. And it could also be a moment where the player has to come in here and hide real quick. And the person who's following them or searching for them comes in and maybe they even notice you have taken the key. Or not. It's just a few different ideas, whatever you want it to be. But this could be a whole moment that introduces the player to a new system. So now they've got access to more areas and you don't know what key you found. So now they can go across and start learning and playing with that. From here, we just need to go about and finish the other room right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got that big room that they could just walk right into. And then we've got the massive dining room where everyone can gather and a party's going on. You could even go a bit more unique and try and figure out how to get it to go across at an angle, but I'm not going to be too worried about that. I'm going to stick to the little drawing that we've got going on. So this is our first full little floor. And honestly, if you're only doing a one-story building, this isn't too bad. You've got a whole lot of areas you can explore. If you're in first person, it works really well. And you can also expand this a bit if you wanted to. So now I've got two different the first floor is laid out. It flows not too bad. I can't access the bathroom. So what I can do is I can actually add a door right here. So now you got a full access to this nice little bathroom. And then you could have a bathtub you could hide inside of. So if the player is chased and they run into this room, they'll be like, oh, shoot. And if they have no way out of that room, you need to give them some way to really survive that encounter, because it's frustrating if you're running around and then there's a room designed to pretty much kill you if you go into it. And it also gives the player an idea of, okay, so I can keep this spot in mind. So if I'm being chased, I can run into there and hide. So there we go. That is our first floor designed, laid out, and set up. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a few systems in mind, and that'll actually help us design the second floor. So what I said before is I wanted the ability to crouch and hide underneath stuff. So I'm going to shrink this down. I'm going to shrink my cube size. I'm actually going to create a few little places that would hide underneath. So what I'm going to do instead of just this is I'm actually going to create blueprints, aka little prefabs that I can use. So if I right click, I can name this folder prefab blueprints. Probably spelled it wrong. Prefab blueprints. No, it didn't. Cool. I right click, create a blueprint, actor. There we go. So we need to rename it hiding places. So we drag this over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use little SM cubes to design small furnitures. So with this, I need to find my SM cubes. So SM underscore cube. So there we go. Now we got our little SM cube. And I'm going to drop in our character. Sandbox. BP sandbox character. We can design the height of it and everything based off the character height. So right here, we need to make it kind of small. There's that. We're going to create the legs first. We can shrink this down. That's what's going on. All right, so about right there's not too bad. Slide it over. Oh, right, you can't use Alt. And the blueprint. Slide right there. And we need it to match about hip height in order for the crouching to be able to go underneath it. About right there. Then we can copy and paste, slide it over right here. And that'll give us the idea if we can slide this forward. We got an entire cube we can play with. So we got an area like that we can use. Cool. So now if we go ahead and duplicate this, we can shrink it on down, slide it on over, slide it across. So now we've got an area that the player can fit under. If I hit play, there we go. Nice. So here we go. Now we can set the cubes to be back on the ground of where they were. So the head got to about there, so we need the object to at least be that tall for the character to fit under. Of course, we would want to do more in order to make it to where the character can actually hide. So there we go. So now we need the cube to actually fit across all of them. Of course, it's going to need to be there and over here. Actually, it won't need to be over there. So you won't need to be edited at all. You just slide this over. And make sure both these grow up into it. There we go. Compile. Oh, looks like we got 2 left out. Okay, so let's go ahead and grow it that way just to be safe. Compile. Then we hit play. Of course, this isn't a finished product. You'd make it to where the character actually crouches properly, but this will work as an idea for how the flow works for the game. So now that we've got this set up, we can place these around the map as areas for that character to hide at. So with this, we would want a couch area over here so we can have a little hiding spot right here. All right, so there we go. So we can go ahead and move that table right there, and we'll go ahead and set up like a couch right here. And maybe another one right here. Give them a little area to meet up. Maybe put it over here. Maybe a more hidden area like the corner. So it feels more like the character can actually hide right there. Of course, like I said, we would edit these later on, make them look real nice as we go along and go into testing, because we won't want the shoulders and head to be able to fuse into it. So we need to find something that's smaller than that. And we want to put them in areas that are actually usable and set up. So here, because it's such a large room, we would want multiple ones. Or you could even make it to where there's extra sets. So I could simply make one that I could use for something else. So like, instead of just doing this, I can actually kind of grow across, up, maybe a little bit more, and kind of set up another little one that we could do. And let's maybe slide it over there, kind of grow it across. Might already be able to tell what I'm building now. Kind of grow this up here. And we'll duplicate, slide over, duplicate, reverse, slide over. Compile, and then we have box collisions. Or on hit break. Of course, if you're wanting to be more like do the actual game, you're going to want to use a bit more sophisticated code than this. This is just baseline to get into the previous stages. You would want to go ahead and go further with your code to really get this going. So I need to figure out the timelines for these. So open up out. Oh, I don't want that box connected to that. I want this box on its own. So this one, well, we'll worry about that in a second. So click our box, and we're going to do details on and off, begin overlap. I've actually done this work a few times. on and off from here. Timeline. Door open / close. And actually, we don't need that right there. We need the enable input, disable input, get player controller, and of course set the target to self so I can use the code in here. But we want to get the player controller connected here so that way when the player controller connects, it can enable and disable the input. From here, we would want the E key finally. I try to use E on almost everything, so it's the grab, play. Sorry, we want a flip flop first to enable it to flip back and forth. So play and reverse. So from here, we want to length, let's go at 2 seconds because that's plenty long. Track float. Get the current angle for both of them. This one's -179. So this one, we're going to go ahead and set as the 0, 179. I clicked off, so there we go. Add keyframe, set it to the 2 mark. I need to stop clicking off to get rid of that. And then go back to the viewport and see what it needs to be for this. When we open it all the way, 140, it is now -40. So for the endpoint, this one needs to be -40, compile, set up a second track. Door 2. This one we can do door 1. So now we've got door 1 and door 2. We can set play and reverse. Everything is all set up right for these. Right, okay. So now I just need the settings for the other one. Of course, we need to set this back to -179. This one needs to now be 0. Okay. So this one can have 0 at 0. And then on the second one, at 2 seconds in, we need about 130. So there we go. Now when the player comes over to it, it should activate. Okay, is it backwards? I figured it was. So now when the player comes over here, they have a spot to hide in. They can come over, hit E. Okay. Get player controller, enable input. Oh. Might help if we actually tell it to move the doors. So this one, the first one is cube 7, and the second one is cube 6. So we need cube 7 to be door 1. Set local rotation. Okay. Relative rotation. Set relative rotation. Update. Split struct pin. We want the Z axis and connect it to there. And then we'll duplicate this. And we're going to go ahead and connect on through. Set the Z axis to door 2 and compile. So we want, instead of 7, we want 6 for this though. Yes. Oh, right. Track 6, set to self, compile. Now when I come over here and hit E. Okay, that's a simple fix. We go back into the timeline. Door 2 needs a reverse movement. So instead of going up 130, it needs to go negative 130. That should be a simple fix. So now we walk over to it and hit E. Now both the doors open and we can go inside of it and we can close the door to hide. So there we go. Now we've got a hiding hole. There we go. So that gave us the idea, and now we know we need to design areas that the player can fit inside of. We could, if we're doing third person, we could just do a simple locker that they climb inside of. We can make it smaller. We can make multiple sizes. We could even just take this, go into its blueprint, duplicate it. I just realized I used our little crawl space to do that, so I'll have to remake it. But from here, it's just simple of deleting one of the doors and sliding it over to match that on all three regards. And sliding this wall over to match. Same thing with our little box. This gives us multiple ways to play around. This is a simple fix. Just got to get rid of this rotation. There we go, and compile. So now we have multiple sizes for the hiding spots. We got the 1 door and 2 door. Both pretty easy to use together, so we got to test to make sure it works. Come over, hit E, it opens and closes. All right, so now we just need to go in and edit and find the height it needs to be for the player. Because we need to know these in order to be able to properly make the level. Because if you just make it and hope that everything fits together, you may miss out on a lot of situations. So that should be plenty high enough for the player, tall enough for the player, without taking as much room as it could. I might have made it to where it can't reach its side anymore. So the only thing that's important is to make sure that there we go. So now we hit play and we should be able to open and close it as we wish. Here we go. So now we just need it to be able to open from a little bit further outside the door than just right in front of it. That's the wrong direction. There we go. So now this entire thing is usable for multiple areas in the level. So that area we talked about over here, we would probably do the double door. So now we've got the little double door where the player can get the key from. And we could even make this a twofer. So this specific one we could separate by duplicating the code. And this could be where that key is hiding. So when the player gets in here, they get that key and then the player backs up and learns that they can hide. And that would actually introduce the player to the mechanic of hiding. So you're sneaking around, making sure that you're crouching to be quiet, and then you come across here, you find this room right here, and then you're introduced to your first key. So you open up the door, or you get the first key right here, and then the character backs up and closes the door. So when you load in, you're inside of here. So you just open the door, and now you've learned that you could open and close the door, and it tells them use doors for hiding and whatnot. So yeah, you can use that for multiple things, as well as gives you plenty of areas to hide, and you can place these around the map without taking up too much space. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get in and place a few of these around. We're going to recreate our little blueprint from earlier. Our hiding crouch. So we need our SM cube. All right, so now we've got our cube. Once again, we need to place it next to the character. And this actually should be pretty fine on height. Again, in an ideal world, we have it to where the character crouches better, where the head's a little bit lower. So there we go. But of course, if you have an area where players can crouch around, you need to make it a little bit unrealistic on height, because hiding, unless you have like a nice sized desk or the player can like lay down, crouching isn't the best way to hide. Don't get me wrong, it can be effective, but it's not necessarily the best. So you can make it to where the player has a lesser chance of being spotted right here. But inside of the doors right here, they have a 100% chance of not being spotted. So yeah, now that we've got those 3 different ways for the player to hide, we can actually really set up this place to have multiple things to be able to get away from the whatever's chasing you. And that actually allows us to cut off some of our paths, so we could really tone down the number of paths if we wanted to. So, since this is a storage room, they don't necessarily need multiple entrances. So I'm going to wheel back and make it to where there's only 1 entrance right here. And this room would need 2, this one would need 1, this would only need 1. And we would make it to where the bathtub could be sealable and openable. This right here would, of course, need multiple ways through. But if the thing that's chasing you can catch you, then you also want it to be able to do things to catch up to the player too. So now we've got multiple paths. The player has a good walk-through rate. Now we just need to set up a few meshes for the character to have to avoid. So if I set up a table right here, so like SMQ. Actually, I could actually use our little Heidi blueprint and just expand it a little bit to that'll work for the previs stages. So about right there, a little bit more. There we go. So now we've noticed that this room is a little small for a mansion dining room, but it will work for now. Actually, how much room do I have in here? So I've got enough room to actually walk around and like sit over here away from the table stuff. So this isn't too bad of a room size. I could actually, and now because I use the blueprint for hiding, I can actually crouch under here. I would, of course, eventually set it to where the camera doesn't do this little mistake right there where it sees over. But yeah, now we've got multiple things to really do. So we got a hiding spot. So if the player gets stuck right here and there's multiple things hunting, if they're sitting right here, there's maybe multiple entrances, but they also have a big spot to hide in. It also fits well because the dining room would have a nice table that you can eat at. The kitchen could definitely have a single, and this could even be your fridge. The character takes out the little shelves and then you unlock a new hiding spot. Or there could just be a little pantry area that isn't being used at the moment. Really depends on what you want to go for. And then, of course, the storage area could have multiple different things, from like a crate the player could hide inside of that had food in there but no longer does. And you could even make it to where it's coated in food and the player just crawls inside of it. And that would activate the player hidden effect inside of the AI and make it to where these points are actually searchable if the AI believes the player is in there. So like if I ran directly over here and the AI is like right here and it sees the player go into there, their last known location would be searched right here. But it also means that they're not guaranteed to look it, but it becomes a searchable location. So yeah, this is a baseline of designing the first floor. Let's go ahead and save everything. And then we would have to worry about our staircases right here. So I'm not going to build. I'm going to go ahead and set right here for our little up. All right, one. So it's going to easily just be. This one has to be. we go. And cut. So now we got a little spot right here. So now we've got the idea of the setup. And because we need this to fit a bit better, I can actually extend the front of the area, the entire front of the estate, instead of just this little spot right here. So from here, I can actually set up the whole thing to go out instead of just sitting right there. So from here, we need to find the wall right there. Right, one, sorry, right, one, get that rooms. This one. Very nice wall, there. There we go. Just like over there. This is actually easy. Go. Next well. And here. Like, you get here. Okay. Let's go. 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 So now we got plenty of room to work with the staircase. And of course, we would want to do the staircase separately from the mesh so we can edit it as we go. So there's a few ways to go about that. We could go like that. And of course, we could remove the area down here. I'm thinking I want to do it a little bit differently. So yeah, we have two ways up it, but how about instead of just that, we go 1, 2, maybe 3, except then we go up. And we went too far over. Now we go right here. Go across all the way, except cancel. I want to be able to edit just the staircase. So right here, right there. So we don't need it to be 4 across. We could just go 2. Because that's still enough room for 2 people to fit there. And then from here, we can kind of cube grid. Go right there. Z, click, click, boom, boom. Still a little too much, so... Yeah, it's a little too fast. I'd have to expand the room a bit more. So I'm going to go back with the original idea that it had done for it. And just kind of remove that center area. Just kind of finish going up. There we go. So looks like it would all mess up, so I got to redraw it. And this is why we work in previs, honestly, is because if we did all this and had to redo all this stuff outside of previs, this would be a monster to do over and over and over again. So this is why cube grid is helpful for prevising a lot of stuff. Done, except I could grab this little... Oh man, it wasn't supposed to actually add it to that. Oh well. Cube grid. So since we're not doing that, we could go there. Only 3, not 4. There we go. So now we got 2 decent little staircases. Let's go ahead and fix this up still. And of course, you'd have your own little custom staircases that you would have either modeled or built in when you get there. For now, we know the 2 staircases ideas will fit. We got plenty of room for this. We can actually even remove a shave off of here. We don't have to have them that wide. If we really wanted to, we could go the other direction. Which I think I do want to do that. I like this side a bit more. There we go. So that's plenty of room for a character to get through. Player can go up, and now they're up here. So now the player's got 2 options to get upstairs from this one room. And of course, from the library, we can make that as well. It would be pretty simple as well. So it would just be using 2, Z, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And it would be 1, 2. There we go. It's now connected to the upstairs. And of course, like I said, this wouldn't be the permanent set for it. Done. So now we've got the whole little area. And you can even put a secret area right here if you wanted to. But yeah, so now we've got multiple accesses. And right here is a unlockable staircase. So this does not have to be accessible right off the bat. And this will end us up on the next floor. So yeah, if we wanted to go ahead and build the next floor, we could remove off that, go all the way across here. We have the second floor area set up to be able to build off of. We still need to build this little spot right here. And there we go. Accept. So now we've got the second floor area built. I can H to hide it. So while I'm editing, I can work on the first floor. While I'm building the second floor, I can actually hide the first floor. Which I don't see why you need to hide the first floor. All right, so we've already done a fair bit. We've gone through and thought about our layout. We've got the first floor built, at least to the testable phases, and we've got a hideable second floor going for us. So we can actually go in and get that designed in the next video and set that up with our walls and everything. Because I want to make this a whole series. This one is just going over everything for getting our mechanics planned out, because you don't want to go too far without having an idea of what mechanics you want in there, because that will massively change everything that's going into your actual design itself. Because if I don't know ahead of time that I want the player to be able to hide inside of these, I'm not going to leave places readily available for them. And once I need to re-add them, if they're just shoved into place real quick, that doesn't make it flow very well at all. And flow is an extremely, extremely important part of every single game. Move these doors to make them fit a bit better. There we go. So yeah, now we've got a layout and some baseline code for hiding places. And next video, we'll go into actually setting up the flow of the map, placing objects, the sofas, the chairs, the little storage area over here. We're probably going to even set up a little key inside of here that we can pick up and use that to be able to enter probably the next area over here, like lock this part of the building off. So you have to come all the way over here and get access to it. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I know this didn't cover a wild amount, but it's all very useful information to keep in mind. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. I know that, like I said, this is all the previous stages. It's not the super exciting stuff, but it's all important information. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you all learned a lot, and I hope to see you next time.